and will connect to the existing Trans-Mediterranean, Maghreb Europe, Medgaz, and Galsi pipelines. These supply Europe from the gas transmission hubs at El Kala and Beni Sarf on Algeria's Mediterranean coast. The length of the pipeline will be 4,128 kilometers, which is 2,565 miles. 1,037 kilometers, 644 miles in Nigeria, 841 kilometers in Niger, and 2,310 kilometers in Algeria. The pipeline is starting from Warri to carry gas to Europe. From Warri to move gas to Europe. And when these guys, Niger coup plotters, took over power, they said, we're not a part of this. We don't have anything to do with this one. And they stopped it. They canceled it. Now, let me take you back to what I've said before about the battle between Russia and Europe, which is happening in Ukraine, which is happening in Sudan, which they're now about to ignite in Niger. Because if you notice, loyalties are now going in two directions. It's either you're loyal to colonial Europe, the West, or you're loyal to Russia. Can you see that? That means that we are now beginning to smell what it feels like to have or live in a multipolar world. Because all our lives we have always lived in a unipolar world. And I promised I was going to make a video to break it down and explain this whole unipolar, multipolar dichotomy, right? And I'm going to do that. But this is what it feels like. Because now you are left with a choice. Unlike when we were left with no choice at all. You can now say, if I don't want to go with colonial France or America or Europe as a whole, I can go with Russia, who is also a superpower. That's what is happening in Niger. So Russia still bearing the grudge that you blew up our ultra expensive Nord Stream pipeline so that you don't have access to our gas and so that you can also pauperize us. And you are now gloating over the fact that you have Africa. You can take cheap gas from Africa and pipe it all the way to Algeria, from where the gas now connects to all manner of pipelines that go through Morocco to Spain and the one that goes through this other one to Italy. In fact, the moment it gets to that gas hub in Algeria, Hassi Armel, once he gets there, the thing goes straight to Europe. It's not just Spain and Italy, to the rest of Europe. And they wouldn't need anything from Russia anymore in terms of gas. So now people who are loyal to Russia are on ground to say, you know what? This gas thing is not going through us. And that pipeline must have to go through Niger before it gets to its final destination. So Europe is stuck. So when you look at what is happening in Niger, it is not just France involved. It is the whole of Europe that is involved. So that when you pray, you know the extent of your prayer. So that you can understand why there is so much pressure on ECOWAS to act. So you can understand why there's so much pressure on France to also act, because they also have soldiers on ground in that place. And now you can understand why this is a make or break for Niger or Nigerian coup plotters or the new administration in Niger. Because this is why they brought in who? Wagner PMC fighters. It is no longer news. It's not even fake news. It's not even rumor. Wagner PMC fighters are on the ground in Niger Republic right now. And you know as much as I do that Wagner PMC, they don't play. They don't joke. I don't want to talk too much. I just wanted to give you an idea of all the bones of contention in this whole Nigerian situation, which is why many of you may see a lot of stubbornness on both sides, which means that potentially we are headed towards a Ukraine-type situation on the West African coast. You can imagine what this means for Nigeria, what this means for Ghana, what this means for all the nations that are within the sub-region. Because when this thing happens, it is not going to be for Niger alone. Mali and Burkina Faso and Guinea have already said they are going to join their brothers in Niger to fight. Algeria has also cried out loud and said, let this not happen. We must be consulted because we share like a 1,000-mile border with Niger. So many other people. Egypt has also said, let this not happen. But do you think anyone is listening? The stuff that is at stake is huge. It's almost like a make or break. As I've told you, if they don't fight, what are they going to do with energy? Because Russia has already cut off. They have already blown up the pipeline. So they're not getting it. Uranium, they are deficient. You talk about gas, they are deficient. How do you want them? The only feasible way that is understandable to them, through which they can actually replace Russian gas supply, is through this pipeline that is going to move gas for them from Warri, Nigeria. When they have their people there, nobody can stop that from flowing. So for you to now stop the movement in Niger, you're going to have to face them. That's why this war is looming so hard. There are too many interests involved. There are too many things that are connected to this. And it's not going to be an easy war. It's not going to be like Sudan. It's not even going to be like Ukraine. This is going to be far worse than all the other two wars they are fighting. This is why we pray and hoping that the voice of reason will probably step in on this guy, dawn on these guys. And somebody will just sit down and listen and say, hey, maybe we need to go the diplomatic route all the way and leave this whole military action, because at the end of the day, it's still going to be the West sitting by and watching while African brothers